What would you do if the life you meticulously built, the love you cherished, and the man you trusted all turned out to be a carefully constructed lie? For one woman, a cancelled flight became the catalyst that unravelled a web of deceit, forcing her to descend into a world of strategy and sabotage to save her family. This isn't just a story about infidelity. It's about the chilling transformation of a wife and mother into a master tactician, fighting a war no one else knew was being waged. Prepare yourself for a journey into the heart of a marriage on the brink of collapse, where every choice has a consequence and victory might cost more than you can imagine. Lauren and Ethan had what everyone called the perfect suburban life. Their beautiful home in Westchester County, just outside the bustle of New York City, was a testament to their shared dreams. They had met in college, a whirlwind romance that settled into a comfortable, deep-rooted love. After years of heartbreaking struggles with infertility, their world was finally completed by their daughter, Katie, a bright-eyed girl who was the centre of their universe. Ethan, a successful architect, often travelled to his firm's expanding branch in Austin, Texas. The long weeks apart were difficult, but Lauren understood. He was building a future for them, providing for their family. The distance was a small price to pay for their security and happiness, or so she thought. Lately, a subtle chill had crept into their interactions. The easy laughter felt a little more forced, the shared glances a little less frequent. Lauren chalked it up to stress and the relentless demands of their careers. She missed the man who used to surprise her with flowers, the man whose eyes held a universe of love just for her. She just needed a chance, a single moment to reignite that spark. The cool metal of the house key felt heavy in Lauren's hand. The Uber had dropped her off at the end of the driveway, and she crept toward the front door like a teenager sneaking in after curfew. A wide, giddy smile stretched across her face. Her business trip to Chicago, cancelled at the last minute due to a client emergency. A whole, unexpected day to herself. A whole day with Ethan. Katie was with her grandparents in Miami for the week. A rare opportunity for just the two of them. She envisioned his face, the surprise turning into delight. Maybe they'd open that expensive bottle of wine they'd been saving. Maybe they'd just talk, really talk, for the first time in months. She turned the key as silently as possible, pushing the heavy oak door open just a crack. The house was quiet, filled with the familiar scent of lemon cleaner and the faint aroma of Ethan's coffee from that morning. And then she heard it. His voice drifting from their bedroom upstairs. It wasn't his work voice, the confident, commanding tone he used with clients. This was different. It was soft, intimate, a low murmur that sent a shiver of unease down her spine. Lauren froze in the entryway, her hand still on the doorknob. She told herself it was a work call, maybe with a difficult female colleague who required a gentler approach. But the words that floated down the staircase shattered that fragile hope. "Sunshine, I know. I'll make it work. I'll get you a few days off. Just fly out here. We can't miss this chance." A pause. Lauren's breath hitched in her throat. "Don't worry, I'll handle everything. I'll even book your ticket. When else are we going to get an opportunity like this? Lauren's away for the whole week on that trip." Sunshine? Lauren's away? The words echoed in the sudden, roaring silence of her mind. It was a physical blow, knocking the air from her lungs. This wasn't happening. Not to them. Not to her Ethan, the man who held her hand through every IVF injection, the man who cried with joy when Katie was born. She felt a wave of nausea, the world tilting on its axis. He was talking to another woman. He was planning to bring another woman into their home. Into their bed. Every instinct screamed at her to charge up the stairs, to confront him, to see the guilt and shock on his face, but a cold, terrifying clarity washed over her. What would that accomplish? A screaming match? A denial? A messy, tearful confession that would end their marriage right there in the hallway? Her mind raced, a chaotic jumble of pain and fury. She heard him again, his voice even sweeter, more tender than she'd heard it in years. "You'll love it, I promise. I'll give you the grand tour of the city you've always wanted. Yes, anything you want. You're my beautiful girl. I can't wait for this either. The conversation was ending. Panic seized her. She couldn't let him find her here, not like this. On trembling legs, she backed away, pulling the door closed with an almost imperceptible click. She stumbled back down the stone walkway, her handbag slipping from her numb fingers. She fumbled for her phone, her vision blurred by tears she refused to let fall. She wouldn't break, not yet. She had to think. She had to control this. A few minutes later, Lauren walked back through the front door, this time letting it slam shut with a loud, deliberate bang. She dropped her keys onto the small entryway table with a clatter, announcing her presence. "Ethan! Honey! I'm home!" she called out, her voice straining to sound cheerful and normal. She heard a muffled curse from upstairs, followed by hurried footsteps. Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs, his face a perfect mask of confusion and surprise. But she saw it, a flicker of pure, unadulterated panic in his eyes, before it was expertly smoothed away. He was a good actor, a truly gifted actor. "Lauren, what are you doing here?" "I thought your flight was this morning," he said, descending the stairs, a manufactured smile spreading across his face. "They cancelled the trip last minute. Client backed out," she replied, forcing a smile of her own. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. "I figured I'd come home and surprise you." He reached the bottom of the stairs and wrapped her in a hug. It felt like being embraced by a stranger. His body was warm, familiar, but the man inside was someone she didn't know at all. "Are you okay? You look pale," Ethan asked, pulling back to look at her, his brow furrowed with what looked like genuine concern. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. I got a bit dizzy in the Uber." "A sudden headache," Lauren lied, pressing her fingers to her temple. The lie came easily, naturally. It scared her. She felt a part of herself shutting down, a cold protective wall rising around her heart. "I think I just need to lie down for a bit." Without waiting for a response, she walked past him and went into their bedroom. The room smelled of him, of their life together. She fell onto their large, king-size bed, the very bed he had planned to share with his sunshine. The pain was so intense it was physical, a crushing weight on her chest. They had built this life together brick by brick, through financial struggles, family drama, and the agonizing journey to have Katie. How could he throw it all away? How could he stand here, feigning concern, after what she had just heard? The headache she had faked was becoming brutally real, a throbbing pulse behind her eyes. That evening, the throbbing in Lauren's head intensified until she was seeing spots. Ethan, seeing her genuine distress, fussed over her, bringing her painkillers and a cool compress for her forehead. His gentle care was a form of torture. If she hadn't overheard that call, she would have been basking in his attention, feeling loved and cherished. Instead, every touch felt like a lie, every kind word a betrayal. The stress became too much, and Ethan, in a state of what she now recognized as performative panic, called for an ambulance. At the hospital, the diagnosis was a hypertensive crisis brought on by extreme stress. Lying in the sterile white room, listening to the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor, Lauren had nothing to do but think. The initial shock and rage began to cool, solidifying into something harder, colder. She could leave. She could take Katie and burn this life to the ground. But the thought of dismantling their family, of explaining this to their daughter, was unbearable, and a darker, more possessive thought took root. Why should she be the one to lose everything? She had built this life. She had fought for this family. She wasn't going to hand it over to some woman he called Sunshine. A week later, Lauren was discharged, armed with blood pressure medication and a chilling new sense of purpose. She felt calm, her mind sharp and clear for the first time since she'd stood in that hallway. She knew she needed an ally, someone she could trust implicitly. She met her best friend Chloe at a quiet coffee shop, the air thick with the smell of roasted beans and steamed milk. "He has a mistress," Lauren said, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. Chloe's eyes widened in disbelief. "Ethan? No way! Not Ethan!" Lauren recounted the phone call, her voice low and steady, devoid of the tears Chloe had expected. They've been together for a while, at least 4 years. Her name is Sienna. I'm not leaving him, Chloe. I'm going to fight. Chloe looked at her friend, at the hard, determined set of her jaw. This wasn't the Lauren she knew. Fight how? What are you going to do? A small, mirthless smile touched Lauren's lips. First, I need to know my enemy. I need to know everything about her, and I need to do it without him ever knowing I'm looking. Your brother, he's still in IT, right? Chloe's brother, a tech genius with a flexible moral compass when it came to corporate espionage, was initially hesitant, but after a heartfelt and slightly dramatised plea from Chloe, he agreed. He installed a sophisticated spyware program on Ethan's phone while Lauren distracted him with a question about their home finances. Just be careful. This stuff is a legal grey area, and emotionally, it's a minefield, he warned. I won't know you if anyone asks. That night, Lauren waited until Ethan was sound asleep, his steady breathing filling the silent room. She opened her laptop, the screen illuminating her face in the darkness. A dashboard appeared, a mirror image of Ethan's phone. His texts, his call logs, his emails, his social media. It was all there. Her hands trembled as she clicked on his messages. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through years of conversation, with a contact saved as S.A. Sienna from Austin. The sheer volume of their communication was staggering. They talked every day. Flirty texts, inside jokes, logistical plans for his business trips. She saw photos of them on vacation, a beach she didn't recognise, a ski lodge she'd never been to. He had a whole other life, a secret world built in the time he was supposed to be working for their family. Lauren's investigation became a nightly ritual, a descent into the life her husband had hidden from her. She found Sienna's Instagram profile. She was beautiful, of course, young, vibrant, with a model's figure and an easy smile. Her feed was a curated collection of a perfect life. Rooftop bars in Austin, luxury resorts, designer clothes. Lauren felt a bitter pang of jealousy, quickly suppressed by cold anger. This woman was living a fantasy financed by the time and money stolen from her own family. Digging deeper, she found a photo from a corporate event in Austin. Ethan was in it, standing next to Sienna. He wasn't hiding from the camera. He had his arm wrapped possessively around her waist, a proud, happy smile on his face. They looked like a couple. The caption tagged them both, Ethan Collins and Sienna Petrov. She worked for his company. He had probably hired her. The betrayal cut deeper than she could have imagined. This wasn't just a fling. It was an integrated part of his professional life. He had built a world for the two of them, right under everyone's noses. The digital glow of the laptop illuminated a photo of her and Ethan from 12 years ago. They were in college at a crowded, sticky-floored bar. He had such an easy confidence, a bright, disarming smile that made her feel like she was the only person in the room. She remembered her friend nudging her. That guy from the architecture school can't take his eyes off you, Lauren. He's cute. Don't let him get away. Lauren had just gotten out of a clingy, draining relationship and was reveling in her freedom. She wasn't looking for anything serious. She was laughing with her friends, dancing badly, feeling young and carefree. Ethan approached her, his compliments clever, his jokes genuinely funny. He wasn't pushy, just charmingly persistent. He made her laugh, a real, deep belly laugh she hadn't felt in months. There was an undeniable spark, a magnetic pull that felt both exciting and a little dangerous. She gave him her number, but out of habit switched 2 of the digits. A harmless defense mechanism. She didn't plan on seeing him again. Later that night, as she and her friends piled into a car to head to another party across town, she felt a strange pang of regret. She couldn't stop thinking about his smile and the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he laughed. For the first time, she wished she hadn't given a fake number. She felt a twinge of guilt for deceiving someone who had seemed so genuine. When they pulled up to the second location, a house party thrumming with music and energy, she saw him. Standing on the lawn, illuminated by the porch light, was Ethan. He had followed them. He'd taken a cab, guessing where they might be headed. He saw her, and that brilliant smile spread across his face as he opened his arms. In that moment, her defences crumbled. The relief and joy that flooded through her were overwhelming. It felt like fate. It felt like the beginning of something real. He had pursued her, had seen something special in her, and refused to let it go. It was the most romantic thing that had ever happened to her. Looking at the screen now, at the evidence of his new pursuit, that memory felt like a cruel joke. Their early years were a whirlwind. They were broke students, but they were rich in love and laughter. He could always make her feel better, always knew how to turn a bad day around. He was her rock, her biggest supporter. He fit in seamlessly with her friends, charming everyone he met. He was ambitious, passionate about architecture, and she loved listening to him talk for hours about building designs and urban landscapes. She knew with absolute certainty that he was going to be a huge success. On their 4th anniversary, he proposed. They were still in school, but he didn't want to wait. "I want to wake up next to you every morning, not just after a few dates a week. I found my person, Lauren. It's you," he had said. Her heart had soared. Their parents had objected, of course. They were too young. They had no money, no place to live. So Lauren, in a moment of reckless genius, told them she was pregnant. The lie worked like a charm. Their parents immediately rallied, helping them plan a small wedding and set them up in a tiny apartment. It was their first shared secret, their first us against the world conspiracy. From Sienna's perspective, the night she met Ethan was a blur of neon lights and pulsing music. She was at a trendy downtown Austin bar with her roommate, celebrating the end of midterms. A group of older, well-dressed men were at the next table. Businessmen, clearly. "Look at them, probably all married," her friend whispered, but she couldn't stop staring. One of them in particular stood out. He had kind grey eyes and a smile that lit up his whole face. Later, one of his colleagues, a man named Mark, approached her table and started flirting aggressively. He was drunk and obnoxious, refusing to take a hint. Just as he grabbed her arm, refusing to let her leave, the man with the grey eyes intervened. "Mark, that's enough. Let the lady go." His voice was calm but firm. He apologised for his friend's behaviour, introducing himself as Ethan. The connection was immediate and electric. She found herself completely captivated. He was intelligent, witty, and he listened to her in a way no one ever had before. She learned he was from New York, in town on business. The knowledge was a small, sharp pain. This was temporary, a fleeting connection. Ethan didn't ask for her number that night, and Sienna left the bar feeling a profound sense of disappointment. She was sure she'd never see him again, but the next day he called. He'd gotten her number from his colleague, the one who had danced with her roommate. He invited her to dinner at one of the nicest restaurants in the city, a place she'd only ever dreamed of seeing from the outside. She felt out of place in her simple dress, but Ethan made her feel completely at ease. He never made her feel like a small-town girl who'd moved to the city for college. He made her feel sophisticated and worldly. Later, they ended up back at his corporate apartment, a sleek modern space with panoramic views of the Austin skyline. It was there, sitting on his couch, that she finally asked the question she'd been dreading. "Are you married?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes." The word hung in the air between them. A part of her knew she should walk away, that this was a dangerous path, but another, stronger part didn't care. Being with him felt like stepping into a different world, a world of success and luxury she desperately wanted to be a part of. The wife was a distant, abstract concept in New York. This here felt real. Their affair blossomed in the bubble of his business trips. For a few days every month, Sienna lived a fantasy life. He showered her with gifts, took her on lavish trips he passed off as work, and introduced her to a lifestyle she'd only seen in movies. When she graduated, he created a position for her in the Austin branch's HR department. The job came with a salary that was more than she could have ever hoped for, and it cemented her place in his world. She knew it was wrong. She had seen his wife's picture on his social media. Lauren was beautiful, elegant, the kind of woman who belonged in his world. They looked perfect together. Sienna tried to break it off several times, consumed by guilt and the knowledge that she would always be a secret. But Ethan would always pull her back in, and she was too weak, too deeply in love to resist. The loneliness when he was gone was a physical ache. He was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to her, and she couldn't imagine her life without him. She told herself she wasn't trying to break up his family. She was just taking the happiness that was offered to her for as long as it lasted. Lauren's first opportunity for sabotage came in the form of a text message from Sienna to Ethan. She was launching a small side business, opening a couple of franchise locations for a popular shipping service. She had a solid business plan, but she was short on startup capital. She was asking Ethan for a loan, a significant but not impossible sum for him. "Of course, sunshine, anything to help you succeed. I'll transfer it when I get back to the office in New York," he had replied. The casual way he offered up their family's money sent a fresh wave of fury through Lauren. That evening, as Ethan sat at his laptop, Lauren approached him with a feigned look of distress. "Honey, I have some bad news. The car is making a terrible noise. I took it to the mechanic today. The transmission is shot." She named a repair cost just slightly higher than the amount Sienna had requested. Ethan's face fell. He looked from his laptop to her, a flicker of calculation in his eyes. Lauren saw the mental gymnastics. He was weighing his two lives, his two obligations, against each other. She had to make sure she won. "I need the car, Ethan," Lauren pressed, her voice filled with manufactured urgency. "Katie has her ice skating competitions coming up. I have to get her to practice every day across town. And with my new project at work, I have to visit client sites all over the tri-state area. I can't be without a car right now." She watched him, holding her breath. This was the first test. His choice would reveal everything. He ran a hand through his hair, a long, weary sigh escaping his lips. Okay, of course. Family comes first. We'll get it fixed immediately." He opened their online banking app and, right in front of her, transferred the money to her account. Later that night, hidden under the covers, Lauren watched as he composed a text to Sienna. "Sunshine, I'm so sorry. Something unexpected came up with the family finances. I can't send the money this month. I promise I'll make it up to you next month." Lauren felt a dark, thrilling surge of victory. It was a small, petty win, but it was a start. She had forced him to choose, and he had chosen her. She had pulled the first string, and the puppet had danced exactly as she'd wanted. In Austin, Sienna stared at her phone, a bitter taste in her mouth. Something unexpected came up with the family. It was always the family. For the first time, she felt the true, humiliating reality of her position. She was the side project, the hobby, the thing that could be put on hold whenever his real life required it. She had built her world around this man, and he had just reminded her that she was, and always would be, secondary. The delay set her business plans back by a month, a frustrating setback that amplified her feelings of powerlessness. Ethan eventually did provide the funds, but the incident left a crack in her perfect fantasy. She threw herself into her new business, the long hours and endless tasks providing a welcome distraction from her growing unease. The business was a success, a testament to her hard work and Ethan's guidance, but the satisfaction was tainted. It was a life built on a foundation of lies and borrowed money, a life that could be disrupted at any moment by a phone call from New York. Lauren's next move required more elaborate planning. Just before the holidays, she saw Ethan texting Sienna, making plans for a romantic getaway. He was booking a trip to a 5-star resort in Cancun for the week before Christmas, a pre-holiday escape for just the two of them. The audacity was staggering. While she was at home planning Katie's holiday festivities, he was planning a tropical vacation with his mistress. A cold, calculated plan formed in her mind. That afternoon, she called Ethan's best friend, Alexander. "Alex, hi! I had the most wonderful idea," she said, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "Let's get a big group together and surprise Ethan with a pre-Christmas ski trip. We could rent a huge cabin in Vermont. It would be so much fun for the kids." Alex loved the idea. Lauren then called 2 of Ethan's senior colleagues from the firm, including his direct boss, and extended the same invitation. Everyone was on board. It was a brilliant, festive plan. That evening, she presented the trip to Ethan, not as a suggestion, but as a done deal. "Surprise! We're all going skiing in Vermont next weekend. I've already booked the cabin. Alex and his family are coming, and even your boss is joining us. Isn't it wonderful?" Ethan's face went pale. He stared at her, utterly speechless. "Vermont? Next weekend? But why didn't you ask me first?" he stammered. "I wanted it to be a surprise," Lauren said, her expression a perfect picture of innocence. "You've been so stressed lately. I thought you needed a break with your friends and family. Your boss thought it was a fantastic idea for team morale." The mention of his boss was the checkmate. He couldn't possibly back out now. He couldn't invent a last-minute urgent business trip to Austin when his own boss was expecting him to be on the slopes. He was trapped, utterly and completely trapped by her thoughtful, loving gesture. Lauren watched him struggle, a cold satisfaction spreading through her. She felt like a general moving pieces on a battlefield. That night she monitored his phone again. The call to Sienna was short and tense. Lauren could almost hear the disappointment and anger in Sienna's typed replies. The Cancun trip was off. He was going skiing with his family, as he should be. Sienna threw her phone across the room, where it clattered against the wall. Furious, hot tears streamed down her face. Again, his wife, this invisible, omnipresent woman, had ruined everything again. It felt personal, like a deliberate attack, even though she knew Lauren was supposedly oblivious. She felt foolish and pathetic. She had already bought new swimsuits, already imagined the feel of the sun on her skin and Ethan's arm around her. The disappointment was crushing. Not wanting to waste the expensive, non-refundable trip, she called her friend, and they went to Cancun anyway. It was a hollow experience. She went through the motions of having fun, drinking margaritas by the pool, dancing at beach clubs, but her heart wasn't in it. A young, handsome tourist from England flirted with her, and she allowed a brief, meaningless fling, hoping to feel something, anything, other than the gnawing ache of loneliness. But it only made her miss Ethan more. She realised with a sickening clarity that no one else could make her feel the way he did. The trip, meant to be a romantic escape, became a stark reminder of her place in his life. She was the woman he escaped to, not the one he came home to. The Vermont trip was, on the surface, idyllic. The crisp mountain air, the scent of pine trees, the laughter of their friends and family echoing in the spacious cabin. They skied during the day and drank hot chocolate by a roaring fire at night. Lauren played the part of the perfect wife and hostess, ensuring everyone was happy and comfortable. Ethan was initially withdrawn and sullen, clearly stewing over his cancelled plans. But surrounded by his friends, his boss, and his adoring daughter, he gradually relaxed. He laughed at old jokes, helped Katie build a snowman, and even held Lauren's hand as they walked through the snowy village. For moments at a time, it almost felt real. It almost felt like they were the happy, untroubled family she was pretending they were. Lauren watched him with a detached, clinical eye. She saw how much he valued this life, the respect of his colleagues, the love of his daughter. She was showing him, without saying a word, exactly what he stood to lose. Every happy moment was another brick in the wall she was building around their family, a wall designed to keep Sienna out for good. The final blow came a few weeks later. Sienna's younger brother, Alex, needed a job. A position had opened up at the Austin firm, a driver to transport architectural models and materials between the office and client sites. It was a simple job with good pay, perfect for a college student. Sienna, using her position in HR, messaged Ethan, asking him to pull some strings and give her brother the job. "Consider it done," he replied instantly. Lauren saw the exchange, and her mind went to work. She remembered a distant cousin on her mother's side who lived in Austin. A quick phone call confirmed He was unhappy at his current job and looking for something new. That evening, Lauren approached Ethan with a carefully crafted story. "Honey, you'll never believe it. My Aunt Carol called. My cousin Michael in Austin is having such a hard time. He's about to be laid off. I feel so terrible for them. You know how much Aunt Carol helped us out when we were first married. She let the fabricated guilt hang in the air. Isn't there anything at the Austin office, even something small? It would mean the world to me and my family if you could help him." Ethan looked cornered. He had already promised the job to Sienna's brother, but Lauren had framed her request in terms of family obligation, a debt that needed to be repaid. Denying her would make him seem callous and ungrateful to her entire family. I'll see what I can do," he mumbled, already defeated. The next day, Sienna had to watch as Lauren's cousin Michael came into the HR office to fill out his new hire paperwork. He cheerfully explained that his cousin in New York, the wife of the big boss, had set it all up for him. The news hit Sienna like a physical slap. It wasn't a coincidence anymore. The car, the ski trip, the job. It was a pattern. His wife was somehow, inexplicably thwarting her at every turn. The feeling was no longer just disappointment. It was a chilling sense of being outmaneuvered. She felt a growing paranoia, a sense that she was in a game where she didn't even know the rules. Ethan's excuses were wearing thin, and his inability to stand up for their relationship was becoming painfully clear. Sienna's calls and texts became more demanding, tinged with a desperation she had never shown before. "You haven't been to Austin in over a month. Don't you miss me?" she wrote. "I can't, sunshine. Things are insane at the New York office right now," he'd reply. Lauren read his texts, feeling nothing but a cold sense of control. She was systematically dismantling their connection, cutting the threads one by one. She had engineered a series of family crises and work obligations that kept him firmly in New York. The final test was Sienna's own invention. She sent Ethan a frantic message, claiming she was having a health scare. Dizzy spells, terrible headaches, possibly needing to be hospitalized. She needed him. She needed his support. It was a lie, a desperate gamble to see if he would finally drop everything for her. Lauren read the message and knew exactly what it was. A cry for attention. A final, desperate move in a game she had already lost. As Ethan was packing a bag, ready to fly to Austin, to be with the ailing Sienna, Lauren entered the room, her face a mask of excitement. "Ethan, you won't believe the news. I just spoke to Katie's skating coach. They've given her a small part in the big winter ice show at the arena. It's this weekend." She knew the annual ice show was a huge event for the families in their community. "A part? Our Katie? That's amazing," he said, his worry for Sienna momentarily forgotten. "She's so excited, but she's also terrified," Lauren continued, her voice filled with parental pride and concern. "She made me promise that we would both be in the front row. You know how much this means to her, Ethan. Seeing her dad in the audience. It's all she's talking about." She looked at him, her eyes wide and pleading. The choice was stark. Fly to his mistress, who was claiming a vague illness, or stay for his daughter's big moment, a core memory in the making. There was no real choice at all. He put his bag down. He wasn't going to Austin. In her sleek Austin apartment, Sienna packed a suitcase, not for a vacation, but for a retreat. She was going home to her mother's small town for a while. Ethan's last message had been the final straw. He couldn't come. Katie was in an ice show. It was a flimsy, almost insulting excuse. She finally understood. She would never come first. She would always be the optional part of his life, easily discarded for a school play or a family dinner. The love and excitement that had once defined their relationship had been replaced by a constant, draining anxiety. She was tired of the lies, tired of the waiting, tired of feeling like a ghost in his life. She drafted a resignation letter on her work computer and then, with a heavy heart, composed a text to Ethan. It was over. She was done fighting for a man who would never fully be hers. She wished him well and told him not to contact her. As she hit send, she felt not relief, but a profound, hollow sadness. She had wasted 4 years of her life on a beautiful, impossible dream. At the ice arena, the air was cold and filled with the excited chatter of families. Lauren sat next to Ethan, a proud smile on her face as they watched the tiny figure skaters glide across the ice. When Katie came out for her small part, a brief, wobbly spin in the back row, Ethan was on his feet, his expensive camera clicking away, his face beaming with more genuine joy than Lauren had seen in years. In that moment, he was completely present, completely hers, completely their family's. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Lauren knew without looking that it was Sienna's breakup text. Ethan glanced at it, his smile faltering for a fraction of a second. He read the message, and she saw a complex mix of emotions cross his face. Guilt, sadness, but also relief, a subtle unburdening. He slipped the phone back into his pocket without replying and turned his attention back to his daughter on the ice. The war was over. She had won. But as she watched her happy, oblivious husband, she felt a chilling emptiness. She had saved her marriage, but she had become a stranger to herself in the process. A few weeks later, Lauren sat across from Chloe in a quiet wine bar, swirling a glass of deep red Cabernet. "So, it's really over? He hasn't tried to contact her?" Chloe asked, her voice hushed. "It's over," Lauren confirmed, her tone flat. "He seems lighter, more attentive. He's trying to be the husband he used to be." "And you? Are you happy?" Chloe asked, studying her friend's face. Lauren took a long sip of wine before answering. "I have my family back. My life is intact. That's what I wanted." But there was a new hardness in her eyes, a cold, strategic glint that hadn't been there before. "But what if it happens again?" Chloe pressed gently. "He's done it once. People don't always change." Lauren placed her glass on the table with a soft, definitive click. A faint, knowing smile touched her lips, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "If it happens again," she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, "I'll know exactly what to do. And next time, I'll be much faster." She had won the battle, but in the process, she had learned the art of war, and it was a skill she would never forget. In the end, Lauren's meticulously executed plan worked. Sienna was gone, and Ethan, either out of guilt or renewed appreciation, rededicated himself to his family. On the surface, everything returned to normal, but the foundation of their marriage was now rebuilt on a secret, held together by one woman's cold, calculated campaign. The final chilling twist isn't that she got away with it, it's that the fight changed her forever. She saved her family, but in doing so, she forged a part of herself that was ruthless and strategic, a part she could never undo. The perfect wife was gone, replaced by a victor who now understood the true cost of keeping what was hers. Thank you so much for joining us on this emotional journey. If you were moved or captivated by this story, please show your support by hitting the like button, subscribing to our channel for more content, and ringing that notification bell. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Did Lauren do the right thing by fighting for her marriage, or did she just trap herself in a beautifully decorated cage? Share your opinion in the comments below.